Let me tell you about a man who smoked weed for 25 years straight and somehow became Ghana's biggest comedy star. Picture this. You're a gang leader in Kumasi's toughest neighborhood. You've been arrested 7 times. You are smuggling drugs across the Libyan desert. Your friends call you Ras Nene, named after Nigeria's most notorious criminal. Then one day, a friend drags you to a movie set and says, they need tough guys for gangster roles. So you show up, thinking it's easy money. But the director takes one look at you and says, you look real, like you've actually lived this life. You had. And that's when everything changed. That man was Ebenezer Akwasi Antwi. You know him today as Dr Likee, the king of Ghanaian YouTube comedy, mentor to over 80 young talents, and the man who single-handedly revived the dying film industry. But here is what I want to ask you. Can someone who spent 25 years as a drug dealer and a gang leader really become a role model for Ghana's youth? Because what happened next will challenge everything you think about redemption, second chances, and who deserves to be called a success story. Now, before I tell you how a criminal became Ghana's comedy king, let me ask you this. Have you ever done something you are ashamed of? Something you wish you could take back? Because if you have, AkaEbenezer's story is going to hit you in ways you don't expect. Let me take you back to Tafo, Kumasi, in the 1960s. Picture a little boy whose aunt runs a local bar. Now, most kids will stay away from adult spaces like that, right? But young Ebenezer was curious about everything, especially the cigarettes and alcohol he saw adults drinking. So he started sneaking cigarette butts and sips of leftover drinks. Never send your child to buy cigarettes or even smoke in their presence, he warned years later, knowing exactly how addiction begins. But here's what makes his story different from other kids who got into trouble. Ebenezer was smart, street smart, so he learned to speak 7 different languages just by hanging around Tafo Zongo. Kotokoli, Dagbani, Hausa, Twi, English, languages that would later help him connect with audiences across Ghana. However, school, that wasn't for him. I learned from the street than any other book, he said years later. So while other kids were in classrooms at Tafo Assembly, Ebenezer was getting a different education entirely. And what was that education teaching him? That survival in Tafo meant being tougher, smarter, and more ruthless than everyone else. By his teens, he wasn't just hanging around bars anymore. He was running with gangs. And that's when Ebenezer became Ras Nene, the dreadlocked tough guy who made grown men nervous. And here's what's more interesting. Even in the middle of all that darkness, he had the spark. He could make people laugh through the most tense situations. However, he thought that was just a side skill. He had no idea laughter would become his salvation. Now, I need to tell you about the part of his story that makes some people uncomfortable. Because for the next 25 years, Ebenezer wasn't just playing around. He became a serious criminal. We are talking about smuggling drugs across the Libyan desert multiple times, dealing cocaine and marijuana, leading a gang that controlled territory in Kumasi. I was a notorious gang leader, he admitted in a 2023 interview on Zion Felix TV. I smoked weed for 25 years. I dealt cocaine. I lived that life. But here's what I want you to understand. This wasn't glamorous, because when you live that life, consequences follow you everywhere. He was arrested 7 times, sentenced twice for smuggling. Now he's spending time in jail while his life spirals completely out of control. And then there is the addiction. 25 years of smoking weed every single day. Think about that for a second. 25 years? That's longer than some of you have even been alive. Every single day, starting his morning with drugs. But here's where it gets really dark. He had a son during this time. However, because of his lifestyle, he rarely saw the child. Being a dad made me question everything. he admitted on Angel FM in 2024. But questioning and changing, those are two different things. So what finally broke the cycle? A betrayal from a friend over just 5 cedis. 5 cedis. That small betrayal landed him in prison for a week. And sitting in that cell, something shifted. Not a dramatic conversion, not a movie moment, just a quiet realization. This life isn't working. Then a friend mentioned something that would change everything. They need top guys for gangster roles in Kumawood films. So in 2002, Ebenezer shows up at a film set in Buokrom. He still got the dreadlocks, still looks like the criminal he actually was. And the director immediately sees something authentic. You look real, like you've actually lived this, the director said. He had lived it, and for the first time in his life, his criminal background became an asset instead of a liability. And here's the beautiful irony. Playing criminals on screen became his therapy for actually being one. Acting saved me, he told Zion Felix in 2023. It was therapy. I could be Ras Nene without the bullet. So for the next 15 years, he appeared in over 200 Kumawood films. Always the villain, always the gangster, but never the star. However, something interesting was happening. While playing those roles, he was gradually quitting the real criminal life. The drugs were harder to shake. I failed so many times, he admitted to Kweju Sheldon. Relapsed, lost roles because I showed up high. Then in 2015, disaster struck the entire industry. Kumawood collapsed. Piracy killed profits. So even the small money he was making from villain roles gone. I almost quit, he revealed in 2021. No money, no respect, just memories of what could have been. But then came 2020, COVID-19 locked down Ghana, cinemas closed, and that's when Ebenezer saw an opportunity nobody else did. March 2020, while everyone was complaining about staying home, Ebenezer was gathering young people around him, kids like Checheku, 3940, Papa Kumasi, unknowns with big dreams but no platform. So he tells them, let's make comedy skits for YouTube. Now remember, this is a man in his 40s who has never really done comedy professionally, but he had that spark, that ability to make people laugh even in dark times. So they shot their first skit on a phone, simple gangster parody, nothing fancy. Then they upload it and wait. Views streaked in slowly, then something magical happened. People started sharing because they saw something authentic. Real street experience mixed with genuine humor. Within months, millions were watching. By midday 2020, his combined followers across social media hit 500,000 and brands started calling. But here is what made Dr. Likee different from every other YouTuber. He wasn't just entertaining, he was mentoring, giving them what I never had. And what was that? Structure, guidance, someone who believed in them. So while other creators were solo acts, Dr. Likee was building an empire for young talent. Checheku exploded. Papa Kumasi became a household name. 3940 found his audience, and Ebenezer, he became the proud father figure he had never been to his own son. Checheku has made me proud, he beamed. He's like a son. By 2023, Dr. Likee had over 1 million followers across social media. His skits were getting hundreds of thousands of views. He won Best Comedian at the Yen Awards, and his estimated net worth hit $300,000. But here is what success cost him. His health started failing him from the non-stop content creation schedule. In 2023, he was hospitalized for exhaustion. I slowed down, he told Yen, but he didn't stop. Then came the blow that almost broke him. He lost his mother in 2024. She was my rock, he told Zion Felix. Losing her tested my faith like never before. For weeks, he couldn't film. The man who made millions laugh couldn't find reasons to smile. But slowly, painfully, he returned because 80 young people were depending on him. And that is when I realized something about Ebenezer's story. His redemption wasn't complete when he quit drugs or became famous. It was complete when other people's dreams became more important than his own pain. But not everyone sees Dr. Likee as a success story, because here is the uncomfortable question. Should someone with his criminal past be mentoring Ghana's youth? Critics argue that his openness about drug dealing and gang leadership might glamorize criminal behavior. He admits smuggling cocaine. His redemption story shows that anyone can change. That's exactly the message youth need. So let me ask you directly. When someone has genuinely changed their life and is helping others change theirs, should their past disqualify them from being a mentor? Because yes, was undeniable. Since 2020, over 80 young people have built careers through his platform. Checheku alone has over 200,000 followers across social media. Papa Kumasi has become a household name. And these aren't just entertainment careers. He is teaching them life skills, business sense, and most importantly, how to stay away from the street that almost destroyed him. No drugs, no shortcuts. He tells every young person who comes to him, and so far, none of his mentees have fallen into the criminal life he escaped from. Here's what I think you need to understand about Ebenezer's story. The Tafo boy who smuggled drugs became the man who is smuggling hope into young hearts. The young leader who controlled territory now controls laughter across Ghana. The addict who was controlled by substances now controls his destiny and helps others rise. From Ras Nene to Dr. Likee, he proved something profound. Your past doesn't have to write your future's prescription. His story teaches us that redemption is real. That second chances work when you use them to give others their first chances. And that sometimes the best mentors are people who have walked the darkest path. But whether his journey helps or hurts Ghanaian culture, that debate continues. So let me ask you, do you think AkaEbenezer's criminal past makes him a bad role model? Or does his transformation make him exactly the mentor Ghana youth needed? Comment below with your honest thoughts, because next week we are bringing together the experts for a heated debate. Kumawood veterans, youth advocates, critics and comedians will battle over this exact question. Has Dr. Likee elevated Ghanaian comedy and youth development, or does his past undermine everything he's trying to build? Some will call him a hero who proves anyone can change. Others will argue that celebrating his story sends the wrong message to impressionable young people. It's going to be explosive, it's going to be controversial, and it might just settle this debate once and for all. But right now, I want to know what you think. Because sometimes the most important question isn't how someone rose from their lowest point, it's what they are trying to lift up along the way. What do you think AkaEbenezer has lifted up? And what do you think he might be bringing down? Share your thoughts. See you next week for the debate that is going to divide Ghana.
Yeah, bro, yeah, bro, bro. Bro.
Hey, I know me a machine.
Pie.
Hey, now I'm all when you pay so pie baby.
Bro.